Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Show Style and Spirit. I am Ebony, and as you can see from the title of this video, everything's coming up Porsha, Porsha, Porsha. So we're going to be talking about her channeling Bernie from Waiting to Exhale. Porsha knows she is hilarious. And she said that she has considered dating women after the fallout of her second marriage with Simon Guobadia. And speaking of Simon, one of his ex-wives, she is calling BS on Porsha's testimony, where Porsha said that she helped her out with child support. Now, before we get into these Porsha stories, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. And everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. And the Copyright Act of 1976 says that my fair use commentary on these clips are allowed. So these first two stories are coming from the Neighborhood Talk, so shout out to them. And Porsha did an interview with People magazine where she was channeling Bernadette from Waiting to Exhale. So I'm sure you all can see it, so I'm going to go ahead and click on it. I just think Porsha is so funny. She might as well do a skit on Saturday Night Live because she is that goofy funny. So we all remember when Angela Bassett she was venting and frustrating. She was calling her husband psychotic because remember, his closet was like super duper organized. And she said, she was like, this mofo is psychotic. And she was fussing, saying all of the reasons why she should have left him sooner. He was counting the number of times they made love. And she was packing his ish. Get your ish and get out. I love Waiting to Exhale, in case you have not figured it out. And then she puts all his stuff in the car, and it makes you giggle because right behind her head, it was like a Halloween mask. And then she sets all the stuff on fire. A neighbor called the police, and the police knocks on her door, and he's like, you can only burn trash, that's the law. And she was like, it is trash. And she was smoking a cigarette. So Porsha is channeling Bernie. Now, Porsha, I am a fan. I think that you're gorgeous. I think that you're funny, hilarious. And I'm so happy that you have your baby, you have Pilar. But are you Bernie? Are you Angela Bassett, ma'am? Absolutely not. I feel like if they remake Waiting to Exhale, Angela Bassett gonna have to star in the remake too. But this is very cute though. But I know you're saying it's because you're moving on and you were done wrong in your marriage. That's why you are channeling Waiting to Exhale. And the Porsha Williams cover states, Porsha Williams can finally exhale. The People cover says that. So let's check out these photos. So this is when Angela is burning up all his stuff. I remember like being a kid when the book came out, it was like the early 90s. So I was like 10 and 11. And when I would get my hair done, all the Black women, they would all be like sitting under the dryer reading the same book, Waiting to Exhale, and written by Terry McMillan. She's from Port Huron, Michigan. And that's just what I think about when I think of Waiting to Exhale. And then I was in high school when the movie came out. And all of us in high school, all of us girls, we all loved the soundtrack because all of the adult women in our lives had the soundtrack. So good. Babyface wrote and produced his ass off on that soundtrack. And so here is Porsha. She knows she is hilarious. She looks great with the curves, baby, okay? Skin is just glowing. It's giving, like Halloween. She looks great. And then this is her as a boss. There's her book, The Pursuit of Porsha. And then she's brushing her hair like Bernie was in the beginning of the movie. They were getting ready to go to his law firm's New Year's Eve event. And he's telling her that he's going, just not with her. And he tells Bernie that I'm leaving you for her. First he says like, would you mind not going to this year's party? And Angela Bassett looks at him and she smiles and says, crushed. And she's like, what is it? And he's like, well, I'm going to the New Year's party, just not with you. I'm going with her. I'm leaving you for her. And then you hear, this is just a test. This is just a test. It was so good. And yeah, this is Porsha mowing the lawn. It's giving like AI, honestly, because it's weirdly slow. But yes, there she is. And there's Carlos saying she chewed, baby, like she ate. Dr. Heavenly with the fire signs. So I thought that was cute. I thought that that was funny. And I wanted to share that with you all. What do you think about her channeling Bernie? I'm guessing whomever was in charge of the photography for her cover, they came up with the Waiting to Exhale theme, and she probably loved it. In my opinion, I've been thinking this, like having in the back of my mind for a couple years now. Porsha has developed a positive relationship with People magazine because when she and Simon got married, she gave People the exclusive. They had the photos of her wedding first because that was how they promoted it in their magazine. It was exclusive, exclusive photos of Simon and Porsha Guobadia's wedding. So she has forged a positive business relationship with People. I think that that's smart. So now let's go up to Porsha talking about how, she's thought about like, can I date women? Do I like women enough? So we're going to get into it. Once it starts playing, I will mute my mic so that there is not an echo. Here we go.
It's lonely. I can't connect with other men. It's like people trying to introduce me, but it's just when it's not the same, it's not the same. So I'm going to do it different this time. I'm going to be alone until I'm whole. And then when I'm whole, then I will, open myself back up so I don't make the same mistake again. When you go through a bad enough breakup, you're like, I don't like nobody. Like, you're like, I don't like nobody. I was sitting there, I was like, do I like women enough? Can I get with a woman? Like, who can come in and fill this void? Like, oh my God, somebody. I have got to be able to sit with someone and feel a part of what I felt with him. But I don't yet. It'll come. It'll come. But I'm like, and I think that now that I'm realizing that because what I've decided is that I'm not going to look for it anymore. So I'm not going to like push myself into dating or anyone or trying to figure out, who do I like? Who could I be around? Because this is probably also part of healing. I mean, just sitting with this, sitting with being alone, sitting with the loss and let myself heal the loss. And I know I'm crying right now, but I feel good every day, each day. I get better each day. I feel stronger. But I ain't gonna lie, it's hard. It's hard living lonely when you have to live lonely for a while. It's lonely. I can't connect with other men. It's like people trying to introduce me, but it's just when it's not the same, it's not the same. So I'm gonna do it different this time. I'm gonna be alone until I'm whole. And then when I'm whole, then I will, open myself back up so I don't make the same mistake again. When you go through a bad enough breakup, you're like, I don't like nobody. Like, you're like, I don't like nobody. I was sitting there, I was like, do I like women enough? Can I get with a woman? Like, who can come in and fill this void? Like, oh my God, somebody. I have got to be able to sit with someone and feel a part of what I felt with him. But I don't yet. It'll come. It'll come. But I'm like, and I think that now that I'm realizing that because what I've decided is that I'm not going to look for it anymore. So I'm not going to like push myself into dating or anyone or trying to figure out, who do I like? Who could I be around? Because this is probably also part of healing. I mean, just sitting with this, sitting with being alone, sitting with the loss and let myself heal the loss. And I know I'm crying right now, but I feel good every day, each day. I get better each day. I feel stronger. But I ain't gonna lie, it's hard. It's hard living lonely when you know you have to live lonely for a while. It's lonely. Um, I can't connect with other men.
Okay, so I played it twice for you all to hear some of the things that Portia said a couple of times. Um, I want to say, I do think that Portia may have like a skewed vision of healing and like a dependence on other people. Like even for her to say like, it's difficult for her to connect with men right now, because it sounds like she needs to heal. There's probably major trust issues with learning in the marriage that there was like one more additional wife than she thought. The citizenship was not tight, obviously, and just that whole relationship where she told herself she was secure. Okay, she told herself that, in my opinion, because you didn't allow yourself enough time to really date him, to get to know him. I felt like Portia fell in love with the fantasy. I think that she prefers a rich African man, I think, in her mind. And this is just my opinion to the Portia fans. And I can say I can relate to like living in a huge fantasy when it comes to dating and men. I feel like society, it trains little girls to fantasize about your wedding ceremony from the time you are a little girl. And then, like, I was the flower girl in my siblings' weddings. I mean, the weddings ended in divorces, but I've been in weddings. And then when I grew up, I stood up in a wedding. So you're trained to kind of worship all of that. Nobody really talks about how tough a marriage can be sometimes, but I think she has this fantasy about a rich African, particularly. And then she came across him, and, everything moved very quickly. And I think she fell in love with the fantasy that he sold her. I think she had a fantasy, and he met those checkpoints, those bullet points, just with word alone. And I think she believed it. But there's this whole, can I date a woman? Can she fill the void? I feel like you have to fill that void with self love, with spirituality, if you believe in God and everything that spiritual relationship can do for you, the benefits. Um, her relationship with her daughter and taking good care of her daughter and taking care of her businesses and watching them grow. That is her filling up the void, not depending on another person. The personal relationships are the additional blessings to our lives. It's your relationship with self that is the most important, and then your spiritual relationship with God, and then you have people after that. But you shouldn't expect people to fill any sort of void. You should be able to do that yourself and that spiritual relationship. And then the people are additional. That is, in my opinion. Now, I did not buy her book, The Pursuit of Portia, but I watched a couple of bloggers recaps. They would break their videos up into a few chapters. And aside from them saying, okay, so if you want to hear like basically the some audio excerpts from her book and the commentary, go to like Make It Make Sense and House of the Princess. They both bought her book. House of the Princess like got to meet her during her book tour. And so aside from them saying there was lots of sentence fragments in the book, I did hear that Portia had this weird, almost like an analogy between when she was dating a guy. She would also talk about that time of her life being where God was like really, really blessing her. God was really, really blessing her life when she had a man. And they just thought that was kind of like a odd, and it just wasn't them too. I also listened to Bondi Blue when she would give commentary on the book. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So I did think of this tonight when I watched this clip. because I think that she has this kind of like codependency on people, particularly in romantic relationships, to, what she said, fill that void. And I think, just in my opinion, that's a problem. It's a problem that can be fixed, but she'd have to be aware. All right, so now let's get to Simon's ex. So let me pull that up for you. Okay. All right. Okay. And because I started sharing the screen, the audio is going to be gone. Shoot. Let me see if I don't know if it's going to share now. If I open up another tab, I think the audio may still be gone. I can't stand it when StreamYard does that, but I am going to try it with one more tab. I don't think it's going to work though. I hate to think negatively, but I'm just basing it off of how StreamYard likes to act. Okay, so now let's share another tab and see if that will work. Let's see. Okay, I think that is going to work. Cool. All right, so we're going to play this. We're going to play this story. It's already going. So let me go to It's On Site versus My Inbox and then scroll down to it. So I believe, in my opinion, Simon's ex is being super duper petty, but I'm going to save my commentary for after we look at these so-called receipts. Okay, so let's go ahead and clip on it.
Marsha is Simon's first wife. Marsha said, I heard that Porsha said I reached out begging for child support. Untrue. This is the message I received from her. So I downloaded the messages. Hold on. Here it is. So this is from Porsha. Y'all see this? This is from Porsha. Porsha says, hi, Marsha. This is Porsha. I got your number from Lauren, my assistant. She said you called about asking about the bookshelf for the boys. Now, you remember I told y'all that Porsha had put the boys out, right? The boys had rooms there. The boys had a nanny there. The boys would go to and from school there. So the mama was trying to get it. So she said, you called asking about the bookshelf for the boys. I'm going to have her coordinate a time with you so that we can send what the boys want from, hold on, from their room. Also, I know it's a sensitive topic, but this is Porsha now. Also, I know it's a sensitive topic, but if there are any issues, if you haven't received child support since Simon's been away, I'm happy to take care of the child support for him. So Porsha said the mama reached out to her saying that Simon hadn't paid no child support. And apparently it's Porsha reaching out to the mom, asking the mom about. Marsha is Simon's first wife. Marsha said, I heard that Porsha said I reached out begging for child support. Untrue. This is the message I received from her. So I downloaded their room. Also, I know it's a sensitive topic, but this is Porsha now. Also, I know it's a sensitive topic, but if there are any issues, if you haven't received child support since Simon's been away, I'm happy to take care of the child support for him. So Porsha said the mama reached out to her saying that Simon hadn't paid no child support. And apparently it's Porsha reaching out to the mom, asking the mom about the child support. Okay, now listen. Hold on. This is diabolical. Porsha had a plan, honey. She said, I'm happy to take care of the child support for him just because I love those boys and I just want to make sure they get what they need. And then the mama said, hi, Porsha. Christian asked about his books again today. So he will be very happy to get this. So their room. Also, I know it's a sensitive topic, but if there are, this is Porsha now. Also, I know it's a sensitive topic, but if there are any issues, if you haven't received child support since Simon's been away, I'm happy to take care of the child support for him. So Porsha said the mama reached out to her saying that Simon hadn't paid no child support, and apparently it's Porsha reaching out to the mom, asking the mom about the child support. Okay, now listen. Hold on. This is diabolical. Porsha had a plan, honey. She said, I'm happy to take care of the child support for him just because I love those boys and I just want to make sure they get what they need. And then the mama said, hi, Porsha. Christian asked about his books again today. So he will be very happy to get this. So their room.
Other expenses that you've covered of his work order?
Yes, I paid his child support for his two sons. And I also paid maintenance for the house. So that's outside of utilities as well.
Why did you choose to do that?
Well, I really got concerned being that Simon was still detained when it comes to his child support. You know, I'm still married to him at the end of the day, and I just really felt it was unfortunate that they weren't getting any help. The mother had reached out to my assistant and that she was concerned, and she wanted a couple things from the house, but she sounded really concerned. So when I spoke to her, she made me aware that it had not been paid, and so I paid it, his child support.
Any other expenses that you've?
Okay, y'all. So we heard Michelle Brown, the blogger. She specializes in anything Atlanta-based stories. She had the text message thread from Simon Guobadia's ex-wife, the mother of his boys. And she was saying that she was asking for the bookshelf and the kids' books. And according to that text thread, Porsha brought it up, the child support. Now, a lot of women in the chat was saying, you know, Simon's ex is reaching. At the end of the day, Porsha paid the child support. And I totally agree with that. That was very generous. That was very kind. At least Porsha is showing that she's not the evil, wicked stepmother who doesn't care about them. She did let the mom get their belongings that they wanted. I don't know the background behind the boys not staying in that house anymore. We don't know what could have led to that. Perhaps once the dad went away, maybe they wanted to go live with their mom again. I would hope there was no like disrespecting of Porsha, and that's why they had to move on. I don't think that was the case either, because Porsha wouldn't have cared so much to pay the child support. She said that she loves them. Now, she did testify with that court audio that the mother seemed concerned, reached out to her assistant, wanted to get the boys things, but she was concerned. So she paid the child support. The text thread shows Porsha bringing it up. Maybe Porsha just wanted to be kind and she wanted to at least keep the ex at bay because Simon already had a lot going on. Perhaps, Porsha didn't know what was going to happen. Now, if you have not already listened to the audio from the divorce hearings, definitely check out Lakeisha's YouTube channel. She has been doing extensive work on Porsha and Simon's divorce. Shout out to Lakeisha. She's done excellent coverage. And she talked about how, because we know that Simon and Porsha were only married for 15 months. And they were like negotiating. So I don't know if they was it a prenup or was it a postnup? Because perhaps I interpreted it all incorrectly, but it sounded like, were they negotiating a post-nuptial agreement after they got married? Because it sounded like it took several months, pretty much the time that they were married. And then by the time it was confirmed, then she filed for divorce. that, I could have that twisted up, but that was like the gist of how I got it. Because I was like, dang, if I'm interpreting this right, Portia definitely played chess. I'm just saying, and Portia, that's just my interpretation of what I heard. If I got it wrong, I'm sorry, girl. And all I said was you were definitely playing chess, and that's a compliment. But yeah, so I thought that was very interesting. I wanted to film at least a short on what I watched on Lakeisha's YouTube channel, but she done hit Lakeisha with a cease and desist, child. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, and it was like the bullet points that her attorney listed. I was thinking, what, I thought that, okay, well, I was thinking like Lakeisha did. Like as far as when they were dating and him being legally married to Fallon, that was like one of the things that she was saying in the cease and desist that went true. And I'm like, I thought he was still. So anyway, but shout out to Lakeisha. Lakeisha, definitely check out her coverage. But what do you all think about Simon Guobadia's ex, the text thread, versus what she said in court, that audio? Do you think the ex is reaching, trying to make Porsha look like a fibber? Or do you think that Porsha kind of made herself look like a martyr who's like paying the child support on the child support crusade when she kind of volunteered to do it? And then when I was listening to Michelle read the text thread, I did have this thought. It did cross my mind. Like, I wonder, was Porsha thinking ahead? Like, you know what? I'm going to pay this child support. So in court, I can be able to testify and say that I did that. I don't know. It just kind of crossed my mind. But I thank you all so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. I hope that you all had a magnificent Monday and not a manic Monday. If you did have a manic Monday, I am sorry to hear that, but tomorrow will be much better for you, and at least you did survive the day. I know Mondays can be tough. It's not my favorite day to face, but we did make it. When I logged out from work, I was like, yes, I made it. And I went out to the park before I went to the gym, and I was wearing a maxi dress. That's like one of my favorite flowy things to wear. And it was still so freaking hot. And then I came home once I was ready and I put on my sweats and I went to the gym. And then by the time I left the gym, the sun was starting to kind of like fade. It was still really hot. But then I went back to the park and I just walked 2 laps, like about 25 minutes. And then I came home and had a black bean burger, the ones that's made by Morningstar. And I had some cherries while that black bean burger was baking. And then I've made my content. So here we go. I may make another video tonight, but if not, we're all going to have a terrific Tuesday. Do whatever you have to do tonight to have a smooth morning. Try not to snooze your alarm so you don't have to rush. And I will talk with you all soon. Bye.